The arrival. The fabric of space twisted and screamed as something massive forced its way through the dimensional barrier. Ambassador Krell of the Valorian Empire watched from the observation deck of Nexus Station, his forearms trembling as reality itself seemed to protest the arrival. When the light faded and the gravitational waves settled, what emerged made every being on the station freeze in absolute terror. The human warship Colossus hung in space like a metal mountain given form and purpose. 43 kilometers of reinforced titanium and unknown alloys, bristling with weapons that defied conventional understanding. Scanner readings went wild, then simply gave up trying to measure the energy output. The ship didn't just occupy space. It dominated it, bending light around its mass like a predator announcing its presence to lesser creatures. Krell had studied humanity for cycles. They were newcomers, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 3 standard years ago. The Galactic Council had prepared for their eventual arrival with the usual protocols: peaceful greeting, careful evaluation, gradual integration if they proved worthy. Nobody had prepared for this. The reports said humans built ships. They hadn't mentioned that humans built monsters. The station's communication array crackled to life. A female voice, speaking in accented but clear galactic standard, filled the chamber. Nexus Station. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Coalition vessel Colossus. We come in peace, seeking dialogue with the Galactic Council as previously arranged, requesting docking clearance for our diplomatic shuttle. Peace. The word hung in the air like a bad joke. You don't bring a weapon capable of cracking planets in half to a peaceful meeting. Yet the voice carried no threat, no arrogance, just professional courtesy, and what sounded almost like Hope. Station Commander Thrix, a reptilian Sauron whose scales had turned pale green with anxiety, managed to respond. Colossus, this is Nexus Station. Your vessel exceeds our docking capacity by significant margins. Please maintain current position. Shuttle approach authorized on Vector 779. Acknowledged, Nexus. Shuttle departing in 5 minutes. Captain Chen out. The council chamber had been carefully arranged for this historic meeting. Representatives from 12 major species sat in a semicircle, each trying to project confidence while stealing glances at the hologram of the Colossus floating at the room's center. The Etherian delegate's gaseous form flickered nervously. The Mechanari representative ran probability calculations on repeat, each outcome seemingly worse than the last. When the doors opened and the human delegation entered, another wave of surprise rippled through the room. They looked so small, so fragile. Captain Chen stood barely 2 meters tall, her dark hair pulled back in a simple style, wearing a uniform that emphasized function over ceremony. Behind her, 4 other humans followed, 2 men and 2 women of varying appearances, each moving. With the controlled grace of trained military personnel, Chen approached the center podium and offered what humans called a smile. On her face it seemed genuine, even warm. Honored delegates, I'm Captain Sarah Chen, representing Earth and her colonies. We're grateful for this opportunity to meet the species who have built such an impressive galactic civilization. The Valorian Prime Speaker, an ancient being whose telepathic abilities had guided council meetings for centuries, responded first. Captain Chen, we welcome humanity to the galactic community. However, we must address the obvious concern. Your vessel represents a level of military capability that seems disproportionate to a peaceful introduction. Chen nodded, her expression serious but not defensive. I understand your concern, Prime Speaker. The Colossus was built as a response to the realities we discovered when we achieved FTL travel. We learned quickly that the galaxy, while containing wonders beyond imagination, also harbors dangers we couldn't have conceived. 3 of our early exploration vessels went silent. We found their remains later, stripped and destroyed by what you call the Void Raiders. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Void Raiders were pirates who operated in unclaimed space, preying on vessels too weak or isolated to defend themselves. Even established species lost ships to them regularly. We built the Colossus not as a threat to peaceful species, Chen continued, but as a statement that humanity will not be prey. We've studied your history through intercepted transmissions and recovered data cores. Every species here earned their seat through strength, whether military, economic, or technological. We simply chose to lead with our strength to avoid any misconceptions about our readiness to participate as equals. The Sauran delegate, Ambassador Vrosk, leaned forward. You monitored our transmissions? That's a violation of Council privacy protocols. One of Chen's companions, a man with graying temples, stepped forward. Commander James Morrison, Intelligence Division. With respect, Ambassador, we monitored open transmissions in unclaimed space where we had every right to operate. We needed to understand the environment we were entering. Would you have done differently? The uncomfortable silence that followed was answer enough. Every species had done exactly that during their emergence period. The Mechanari delegate's synthetic voice filled the chamber. Your technological advancement rate is anomalous. Statistical analysis suggests external assistance or recovered ancient technology. Explain. Chen's smile returned, this time with a hint of pride. No external help, no ancient artifacts, just human nature. When we realized we weren't alone, that the universe was full of both wonders and threats, we did what humans always do in the face of challenge. We unified. Every nation, every corporation, every brilliant mind on Earth worked together for the first time in our history. Amazing what a species can accomplish when survival depends on cooperation. For the next hour, the meeting proceeded with careful diplomatic dancing. Trade possibilities were discussed, cultural exchanges proposed, territorial boundaries acknowledged. But underneath the polite words, everyone kept glancing at the hologram of the Colossus, the silent giant that had changed every calculation about humanity's place in the galactic order. It was the Etherian delegate who finally asked what everyone was thinking. Captain Chen, hypothetically, if hostilities were to arise between humanity and another species, what would be your response? Chen stood straighter, her entire demeanor shifting subtly from diplomat to warrior. We would defend ourselves with everything at our disposal. But more importantly, we would ask why. Conflict born from misunderstanding can be resolved through communication. Conflict born from aggression requires a different response. The Colossus ensures we have options for both scenarios. As she spoke, Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez, the delegation's security chief, touched her earpiece. Her expression shifted from calm to alert in an instant. She moved to Chen's side, whispering urgently. Chen's face remained composed, but her eyes hardened. Honored delegates, Chen said, her voice carrying new steel. I must inform you that our sensors have detected an unauthorized device attached to our shuttle's hull. It appears to be a tracking beacon with an embedded data miner. Perhaps someone here could explain why humanity's first diplomatic mission is being subjected to espionage. The chamber erupted, delegates denying involvement, accusations flying between old rivals, the careful diplomatic facade crumbling in seconds. Through it all, the human delegation stood perfectly still, watching and recording everything. Prime Speaker raised his telepathic voice, silencing the chaos. This is a grave breach of protocol. We will investigate immediately. No need, Chen said quietly, but her words carried through the room. We already have. The device carries a Zephyrin signature. Ambassador Yerix, would you care to explain? The insectoid Zephyrin ambassador's compound eyes glittered as he rose from his seat. The Zephyrins were known for their information networks, selling secrets to the highest bidder. The device is mine, Yerix admitted without shame. Information is currency in this galaxy. Humanity represents an unknown variable. My people require data to properly assess whether you're an opportunity or a threat. Morrison stepped forward again, pulling out a small device. Then let us save you the trouble. He activated the device, and suddenly every screen in the chamber displayed technical readouts. Not of the Colossus, but of Nexus Station itself. Every weakness, every defensive blind spot, every hidden system the Council thought was secret. We've been here for less than 3 hours, Morrison said calmly, and we already know everything about your station's capabilities. Not through espionage, but through observation and analysis. The same skills that let us build the Colossus in 3 years instead of 30. Humanity doesn't hide what we are, We're curious, adaptive, and when threatened, we're absolutely relentless in our response. Asterisk. The revelation of humanity's intelligence capabilities had shifted the entire dynamic of the meeting. Where before there had been condescension toward the newcomers, now there was wary respect. Captain Chen raised her hand, and Morrison deactivated the display. "We're not showing you this as a threat," Chen explained. "We're demonstrating that humanity brings more to this council than just military might. We offer perspective, innovation, and a willingness to challenge assumptions that might have grown stagnant over centuries of established protocol." Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout Nexus Station. Not the polite chimes of standard alerts, but the harsh grinding sound of a critical security breach. The lights flickered, then shifted to emergency amber. Station Commander Thrix's voice echoed through the chambers. "All delegates to secure positions. We're detecting multiple unauthorized energy signatures throughout the station. This is not a drill." The human delegation moved with practiced precision, forming a protective formation while their equipment came alive with scanning data. Rodriguez pulled out a compact but lethal-looking weapon from what had seemed like a ceremonial belt. "Captain," Rodriguez reported, "I'm reading 17 distinct signatures moving in coordinated patterns toward critical systems. They're using the maintenance tunnels." Chen turned to the confused and frightened delegates. Who else knew about this meeting's timing and location? Prime Speaker's telepathic abilities swept through the room, searching for deception. Only the council members and their immediate security staffs. This information was classified at the highest levels. An explosion rocked the station, sending several delegates sprawling. The lights cut out completely before emergency power kicked in. In the dim red glow, shapes began moving in the shadows beyond the chamber's transparent walls. Morrison was already at work on his tactical display. Void Raiders, but these aren't their usual random attacks. They're targeting specific systems, communications, shields, and the power core. Someone gave them detailed intelligence. The Saran delegate Vrosk hissed in anger. "Impossible. The Raiders are scavengers not capable of such coordination." "Unless someone's coordinating them," Chen said grimly. She touched her communicator. "Colossus, this is Chen. Initiate Protocol 7. Deploy strike teams to Nexus Station immediately." Through the transparent aluminum windows, they could see small dart-like vessels launching from the Colossus. Each one moved with impossible speed and precision, reaching the station in seconds rather than minutes. A Void Raider breach pod smashed through the chamber's outer wall, and armored figures poured through. They were a mix of species, all wearing cobbled-together armor and wielding energy weapons that sparked with unstable power. They moved to surround the delegates, weapons raised. The lead raider, a scarred Thurian with cybernetic replacements for half his body, spoke with electronic distortion. "Nobody moves, nobody dies. We're here for the humans. The rest of you can leave once our business is complete." Chen stepped forward, hands raised but showing no fear. "I'm the ranking human officer. What do you want?" The Thurian laughed, a harsh metallic sound. "You? No, not just you. All of you. Someone pays very well for human specimens, especially trained military ones. Seems your technology has interested parties who want to understand it better." "By dissection, no doubt," Morrison said dryly. "The buyer's methods aren't our concern," the Thurian replied. That quote S when Rodriguez smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "You made two mistakes. First, you assumed we'd come to a diplomatic meeting without contingencies. Second, you threatened my captain." The lights went out again, but this time it was the humans' doing. In the pitch black, the sound of precise violence filled the air. Energy weapons discharged, but they were the unstable Raider weapons firing. Wild. When the emergency lights returned seconds later, every Raider in the room was down, unconscious or groaning in pain. The human strike teams had arrived, moving through the station like lethal shadows. Unlike the Raiders' chaotic assault, the humans operated with surgical precision. They didn't destroy. They disabled. They didn't kill. They incapacitated. Within minutes, reports came in from throughout the station. All raiders neutralized, all critical systems secured. But Chen wasn't celebrating. She stood over the unconscious Thurian leader, her expression thoughtful. Morrison, scan him. Full spectrum. Morrison ran his equipment over the fallen raider, then frowned. Captain, he's carrying a neural implant. Zephyron manufacture, but modified with... I've never seen this configuration before. Ambassador Yerix's compound eyes widened in what might have been surprise or fear. That's not one of ours. The base technology is Zephyrin, yes, but those modifications... Chen turned to face the delegates, her expression grave. Someone's using the Void Raiders as proxies, controlling them through modified neural implants to carry out specific missions. This wasn't random piracy. This was an assassination attempt, disguised as a kidnapping. Prime Speaker's telepathic presence grew heavy with concern. But who would do this? Who benefits from preventing humanity's integration into the Council? A new voice echoed through the chamber, coming from every speaker. Simultaneously, it was synthetic, emotionless, and somehow ancient. The question you should ask is not who, but what. The main viewing screen activated, showing a signal coming from deep space, from coordinates that should have been empty void. The image that formed was of a ship, but unlike anything in Council records, it was organic and mechanical simultaneously, a fusion of flesh and metal that hurt to perceive directly. We are the Convergence, the voice continued. We have watched your petty council for millennia, waiting for you to grow complacent, predictable, but these humans represent a variable we did not calculate. Their rate of advancement, their unpredictability threatens our harvest schedule. Harvest? Chen asked, her voice sharp. Every 10,000 cycles, we collect the most advanced species for integration into our collective. Your council was approaching ripeness, but humanity's arrival changes the equation. You would resist. You would fight. You would potentially win. This is unacceptable. The delegates were frozen in horror. The Convergence was a myth, a legend told to frighten children. Yet here was proof of their existence. Chen, however, wasn't frozen. She was thinking, calculating. So you tried to eliminate us before we could establish relations with the Council. Use the raiders as pawns to avoid revealing yourself. Correct. But you have proven more capable than anticipated. This requires reassessment. Or, Chen said, her voice carrying absolute confidence, it requires you to understand what you're really dealing with. Colossus, execute Revelation Protocol. Through the windows, they watched the Colossus transform. Panels slid aside, revealing weapons that defied understanding. Energy readings spiked beyond measurement. But more importantly, space around the ship began to shimmer as dozens, then hundreds of similar signatures appeared. The entire human fleet, hidden in dimensional pockets, ready to emerge at a moment's notice. We knew about you, Chen said simply. Fragments in ancient Earth texts. Patterns in galactic history that didn't add up. Civilizations that vanished too conveniently. We built the Colossus and her sisters not for the Council, but for you. Humanity's gift to the galaxy isn't our technology or our determination. It's our ability to see patterns others miss and prepare for threats others dismiss as myth. The Convergence signal wavered. For the first time, uncertainty crept into the synthetic voice. This changes nothing. We are eternal. We are inevitable. Maybe, Chen agreed, but you're no longer unknown. And that's humanity's real weapon. We make the unknown known, the impossible possible, and the inevitable optional. She turned to the stunned council delegates. The question now is whether the galaxy stands together against this threat or faces it divided. Humanity offers our strength, our innovation, and our absolutely unreasonable refusal to accept defeat. What does the Council offer? One by one, the delegates stood. Prime Speaker spoke for them all, his telepathic voice resonating with newfound determination. The Council offers its united support. If the Convergence wants a harvest, they'll find the galaxy has grown thorns. The Convergence signal cut off without another word, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. The true enemy had revealed itself. and the galaxy would never be the same. As the immediate crisis passed and security teams began processing the captured raiders, Ambassador Krell approached Captain Chen. "Your species knew this would happen. You prepared for it. Why didn't you warn us?" Chen's expression softened slightly. "Would you have believed us? The newcomers claiming ancient threats were real? No, you needed to see it for yourselves. Besides, the Convergence needed to believe their surprise attack might work. Now they know it won't, and they'll have to try something else, something we can track, analyze, and counter. You used us as bait," Vrosk accused. "We used ourselves as bait," Chen corrected. "You just happened to be in the splash zone. But now we're all in this together. The Convergence made a critical error. They revealed themselves because they feared what humanity might become. Now they face what we already are, a species that turns fear into fuel and impossibility into challenge." Rodriguez approached with a tactical pad. "Captain, the Colossus has finished scanning the Convergence signal. We've got a trace on their origin point." Chen nodded, then addressed the Council one more time. "Honored delegates, humanity formally, requests full membership in the Galactic Council, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. We also propose the immediate formation of a joint defense fleet to address the Convergence threat. Time is not our ally here." The vote was unanimous. In less than a day, humanity had gone from suspicious newcomer to the galaxy's best hope for survival. As the human delegation prepared to return to the Colossus, Morrison made one final observation to his captain. "They're terrified of us now, you know. Maybe more than they are of the Convergence." Chen nodded thoughtfully. "Good. A little fear keeps people sharp. But they'll learn what Earth learned when we discovered we weren't alone. Fear is just the first step toward courage. And courage? That's something humanity has in infinite supply." The shuttle departed Nexus Station, returning to the massive warship that had changed everything. But now the Colossus wasn't just humanity's statement of strength. It was the galaxy's beacon of hope against an ancient threat that had finally met its match in a young species that refused to know its place. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's arrival, and while it had known fear, it had also discovered something far more powerful. An ally that would face the impossible with a smile and ask for seconds. In the depths of space, the Convergence recalculated. They had harvested 1,000 civilizations but never faced one that seemed to actively enjoy being the underdog. Humanity was an anomaly, a variable that broke their equations. And somewhere on the bridge of the Colossus, Captain Sarah Chen studied star charts with her crew, planning humanity's next impossible move. Because if there was one thing humans did better than anyone else in the galaxy, it was turning certain defeat into unexpected victory. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting to see what humanity would do next.